Mark, you help men upgrading their testosterone without having anything outside of themselves. Could you tell me a little bit more of how that actually happens?
Yeah, so it's big right now in the industry for people just hopping on TRT, which is testosterone replacement therapy. I feel like that's a last resort, and people are jumping on that a little bit too quick because what people don't realize is testosterone is low for a reason. And if you just take TRT, you're not addressing that reason. So one, you're missing that, and then two, the replacement might not actually work as well because there's still that hindrance of your body just not being able to produce and utilize testosterone effectively. So my whole thing is we get blood work, a very comprehensive panel to understand what is going on. I call them health handbrakes. What is the health handbrake that's pulled up that's causing testosterone to be low? And then we address that. And it can be several different things. It can be a liver issue. It can be low stomach acid. It can be a gut health issue. It can be stress. So there's all these different causes that when we solve for, the body naturally wants to have high testosterone. It naturally wants to have optimal testosterone. So if we solve for the thing that's bringing it down, then we naturally can optimize test and get it high, and you get all the benefits from that.
Hmm. Amazing. And what caused you to start getting into this space? Was it a personal story or?
It all started in 2018 when I quit my engineering job and wanted to become an online fitness and health coach. But then throughout that whole journey, I was obsessed with getting the best results, with optimizing myself, and that led me towards blood work and analyzing blood work, not just like a doctor does, but using functional ranges, which are based on optimal health rather than the absence of disease. You go to a doctor, you get bloods. Most most of the time, they're like everything's normal, you look healthy, but inside you're like, I don't feel the best. I felt like something is wrong. That's where I come in, and the frame at which I look at the blood work allows me to pull out things that doctors miss.
Mm. What are the things that doctors tend to miss?
It's a lot of things. They miss
Okay.
everything usually because they're looking at disease, and it's not their fault. They're looking at the bloods. Do you have a disease? Are these markers like so far out of the range? And because the normal ranges are they're
Mm.
vast. So if you fall outside of that, then that's usually a sign that something actually is quite wrong, and that's when they flag it. They're are like they find a disease or whatever, a dysfunction. What I do, the ranges are a lot tighter because they're based on optimal health. So that's where I can understand, like, if someone has a nutrient deficiency, if they're deficient in B9, B12, B6, if they are deficient in calcium, if they're deficient in vitamin D, if they have absorption issues with low stomach acid and poor bowel production, if they're not eliminating toxins effectively via the liver, if they have fatty liver, all these things we can catch early before it actually becomes a real problem. But when it's early, it's still creating a deficiency or it's creating a problem downstream, which we can see hormones are quite downstream. So if we have these deficiencies, we have bile absorption issues downstream, that's going to impact testosterone.
Mm. Okay, so you're just tidying up the scope and saying like, okay, this is normal, and normal it's you still feel like shit or you still feel bad, so it's not even worth it. But you even like tighten this up, and in order for you to be optimal, right? It's you actually feeling good, right? We've gotten
Mhm.
accustomed to feeling bad all the time.
Yeah, I mean, average and normal in America, 74% of Americans are overweight or obese. That's normal. So I don't think we should be comparing our blood work to that. Like that is diseased. I think like even going further, it's like don't quote me on this one, but it's like most Americans have two or three chronic
Mm.
diseases. Like that shouldn't be normal. That's not what we should be aiming for. We should be aiming for optimal. We should be aiming for feeling our best because most people they feel like shit. And these ranges aren't just like, oh, let's take the normal ranges and tighten them. It's actually based on peer-reviewed research
Mm.
where they can take one marker and have a bunch of different data based on where that marker is, and then they can extrapolate like, okay, outside of this range, the percentage of having this disease or this dysfunction is like 70%. So then we find the sweet spot of like where that percentage is closer to around 0, and that's our higher limit. And then same thing on the lower. So it's not just like, oh, these are the normal ranges, let's tighten it up. It's actually based on peer-reviewed research. So it's very, yeah, it's good. It's good stuff.
What actually causes a dip in testosterone, right? There's probably many factors, but what are the things that we usually do by mistake or by ignorance that actually get us to stop, to reduce our testosterone production?
Yeah, so the big ones for the people and the guys listening to this podcast are going to be stress and sleep. Those are the big ones. High performers and men trying to build businesses tend to sacrifice sleep. And so, we get into the 5-hour, 4-hour range where we're just not able to really recover, and testosterone is produced heavily in our sleep. And that's where we're recovering and building tissue and doing all these good things. So if we're cutting that short, we're stopping our body from getting the signal that, we're okay and we're good to produce testosterone, because we're not recovered. We're still stressed. So like if we are constantly building our business and like sacrificing sleep, that's going to jack up cortisol. It's going to cause cortisol to rise, which is like the stress hormone. And that directly inhibits testosterone. So your testosterone on a lab test is going to be lower. It can potentially increase SHBG, which is going to lower free testosterone, which is a whole nother conversation. And then it lowers the ability for the testosterone that you do have to be expressed in the way that you want it. So you can still have like okay testosterone, but if your cortisol is really high, you're still going to get negative outcomes based on that. So like peak optimal function is optimal levels of cortisol and high levels of testosterone. That's what we want, because then you get that like grounded, calm drive and focus forward.
Mm. And it's counterintuitive, right? Because on one side, we're being told like you have to produce, you have to do, you have to get into the latest gadget of AI, you have to get fast, better results. But at the same time, you need to be resting in order to actually perform the best. Like where's the harmony on that? Because I don't like saying balance, but where's the harmony in that, in your opinion?
Yeah, I find like it's like an arrow, right? You have to pull the arrow back for it to go fast. If you're just like this far, it's not going to go anywhere. So yeah, I'm saying like go hard and build your business and build your personal brand and go hard on personal development, and recover and rest equally as hard. Because testosterone, you need a certain level of stress to produce it. Like I call this living the high T lifestyle. If you're just in your basement, not getting sunlight, not challenging yourself, not having any type of competition, there's no signal for your body to give it testosterone, because you're comfortable. Testosterone evolutionarily was like what we needed to outcompete other mates, to proliferate the lineage. So it's a balance of, we need to be pushing ourselves to a certain, or a harmony, as a harmony of like we need to be pushing ourselves to a certain state, but not allowing it to override, and for us not to come back into that homeostasis and recover and rest and get deep sleep. So it's a balancing act for sure.
Mhm. And when do your clients come to you? When they're like feeling super shitty, when they're like they just want to optimize a little bit more, or
Yeah, it's a mixed bag. So I actually had a conversation with a guy last night who was he said like I'm his last step before hopping on TRT. So I'm really glad that I found him, because he's going to get amazing results. Because same with him, like people don't understand like what's actually going on underneath the surface, because they're not getting bloods done on a functional level. You go to the doctor, they tell you you're normal, everything's fine. They don't see anything. So then he's like, well, fuck, like, what do I do? I'm confused and frustrated. Everything I've tried based on supplementations and the normal advice hasn't worked. It's because he's not addressing the root cause as to why he's feeling that way, which is where I come in. So there's guys like that who are just like on the edge and just like, I'm about to get on TRT, I don't know what to do. And also the guys who are feeling like they know something's wrong. It's not like the end of the world, but they're like, I know something's wrong. It feels like my test is low. I'm not entirely sure. And they're wanting to figure that out and then optimize on the back end of that. Sometimes they'll come in and their test will be fine, but we find something else. It's like, oh, this is why you're feeling like shit. That is making test a little bit lower than it can be, but it's creating all these other issues that we can address that. and then you move forward and you have like all the energy and the drive and you get everything back. So it's both of those. It's like they're feeling very frustrated and like, I don't know what to do. And then also, I know something's wrong, but I don't know exactly what it is, but it's not like the end of the world. But I still want to move forward and
For
optimize.
those people, the ones that have something, but it's actually not testosterone, what usually is those other causes?
The biggest one that I see is gut health
Mm.
issues. So either they're like not absorbing their foods, or they have some type of overgrowth infection, candida, SIBO, parasite, something like that, which impacts testosterone. But sometimes the body is so complex. Like sometimes their test will appear fine, but due to all these issues, they're still not feeling like they have high tests because then androgen receptors and how testosterone is acting on the body and cortisol levels and just all these other things that are happening in the body. Biggest one I see though is gut health for sure.
A good person, like in high testosterone, what have you seen compared to people right now that are average? Again, in terms of what's the difference in performance? What's the difference in how they
Mm.
show up to the world?
Yeah, it's night and day for me. So I've been all along the spectrum. I started around like I'll look back on pictures and how I was feeling, and I don't have blood tests from back then, but I'm saying like probably around 300s, 400s, and then I've gotten my last blood test was 1100. So that's just total as well. Um, so I know back in the 300s, I didn't have much confidence. I didn't have much drive or motivation. I was just kind of going through the motions and existing through life. I was skinny. That had a big part to play in it as well. And then fast forwarding to 1100 and just having high T and understanding that the drive and motivation, like the energy levels and resilience that I have is way higher. So like I can put my body under a lot of stress and like demand high performance and I can handle it. At 300, 400 at lower levels, I you just can't handle it. So it's a double-edged sword of like having high testosterone, it just makes you more resilient. So you can put your body under a lot more demand. And when you can put your body under more demand and your mind under more demand, you can get better results. So how that translates in business, like maybe I'll have 3 hours of really intense focused work when I was at 300, and now I can do that for 6 to 7, like per day. Like I can really lock in, and that's double the efficiency of like how I'm able to perform and show up when I have a task that I'm doing. I can lock in and just be on that for a long time and not burn out or not need a break or feel like I'm burned out. The resilience and the performance across all areas, physically, mentally, emotionally, it just enhances life by a ridiculous amount.
Nice. And in terms of timeline, in your case, you were at 300. How long would it take someone if they were really focused and dialed in to actually shift from like a 300 baseline into like an 1100?
So my experience was longer because I wasn't actually focusing on
Mm.
it. If I were, so I run 6 month program, so I think that's extremely achievable in 6 months, and I've seen it happen. I've seen it happen before. So I give it 6 months on the high end, but that sounds optimal because if you're at 300, there's probably a lot of stuff going on, so we have to work in the a lot of the different root causes to then unlock things, and then it's moving forward. So I'd say 6 months is an adequate timeline.
Just protocols without revealing your whole thing, right? In like general top things, you said sleep, you said like stress. What are other things that someone that was watching this could like start implementing just right now to actually just start feeling better?
Yeah, nutrition is a big piece of it. I talk about how testosterone it's a hormone of abundance. So you need to because it's very focused around reproduction and furthering the lineage. So if you are undernourished, your body's going to prioritize survival over proliferation, right? Like we understand how that works. That's why when women are extremely stressed and they get to severely low body fat percentages, they lose their period because they're not ovulating anymore. So because their body's like, we're not going to produce a baby, we need to focus on surviving ourselves. So it's the same thing with men. When we're undernourished, our bodies are going to shift resources away from testosterone and reproduction towards survival. So just that. Um, so having a really nutrient dense diet, and then also making sure you're absorbing that, having adequate levels of stomach acid and bile production to absorb fats as well. I see that a lot in guys. That's a big one. We went over sleep and stress. I'm a big proponent of something I call the high T lifestyle, and this is the balance, right? This is like putting yourself into competition. So a lot of men after around even after college, there's no more competition. They stop playing sports. They stop, especially if you have a partner, like they stop competing in the dating world. All these competitions that you would normally get that stimulus from, you're not really putting yourself in that as much. So a big proponent of that is putting yourself into these competitive environments. For me, it's been sports. It's always been sports. I play soccer a lot. Any type of sport, I'm down to play. So that's how I get my competition, and I advocate for that in whatever way. Like it can be chess as well. Like it doesn't have to be physical, but it's just some type of competition. It can be business as well. Like if you're competing in business in an integrated way, that gives you that stimulus of, oh, we need to win, we need to dominate, we need to do all these things, and that's giving our brain and our body like, okay, let's get fired up for this because we need to keep up with the demands there. That would be one of the things that I don't think that many people are really talking about, that I love implementing into my life and then the guys that I work with
I
too.
love that angle of competition because there's also this narrative of we shouldn't compete, right? It should be all collaboration, but actually that competition piece is what makes you what enhances your own self and your need to thrive and reproduce. So
You could do it in an integrated way. Like it's not like burn bridges and just like only focus on yourself. Like healthy competition, right? Like we can collaborate and build an amazing world together, but well, and it's like having a common enemy, I guess, like a common thing that we're fighting against that in general society we don't like. So like for me, I'm in competition with big pharma because I don't agree with how they move in the world. So I'm constantly competing with them.
yeah,
Now my friend who's like also maybe doing similar work, not as like direct enemies. Like we're collaborating but like still technically
yeah,
competing. And it's all about the frame that you look at it with. Like I don't really view competition in the sense of business from like someone adjacent to me, because someone's going to resonate with me, they're not going to resonate with the person across from me. To me, maybe there isn't really competition in that sense.
let's dive a little bit deeper into that because that sometimes tends to happen in the coaching space or in the personal development space. It They say it's saturated or they say it's there's not room enough for everyone, but what has been your experience with it so far?
I can see how people say that, and like sometimes I think that too, but that's more just like victim mentality, right? I try not to subscribe to that, because like I was saying, everyone is their own unique person with their own story, with their own method of how they explain what they do into the world, and that's going to land with certain people in a specific way. Compared to someone else who's had their own experience, they're going to resonate with people that have more similar experiences to that. Well, I think if you're authentically expressing who you are, you don't have a mask on, there is no competition. But when you do have a mask on and you're commoditizing
Mm.
yourself, you blend in and then you look like everyone else. So then there is competition because you're the same, because you're not authentically yourself. So that's been something that I've been trying to work on and working with my mentor as well. Is just like, how can I show up fully authentically as myself in content and just in general, so that people can really feel who I am, so then they can connect to that rather than just commoditizing myself and just being like, it's a product and this is the result. But like it's that, but you also get access to me and my energy and everything that comes with my story and everything like that. So I think that's how you can eliminate competition and create a brand of one,
Hmm.
right?
No, that I love that. I love that. I was talking with Craig the other day, and he also said a really interesting fact. The results that your clients will receive is based on how much they actually like you as a person. So if you
Yeah.
show up as yourself, you're going to attract the people that actually resonate with you, and they will get better results, and hence more people will find more about you. I met you in a beautiful dinner. You were working on a retreat also with other people with Corey. Could you tell me, you built like an alliance together, right? So how did that come
Yeah.
about?
Yeah, it's a funny story. Um, how I met him, and so he does men's work. He's done a lot of. He's a dating coach now for men. He's done a lot of men's work in the past, and I just saw him on Instagram. His story randomly popped up for me, and I reached out to him and was like, "Yo, let's train." Uh, Hit it off there, and then we've become really really good friends, and it's our worlds meet very well. So like how I talk about myself in my program and business is men's health, which is, we've talked about, like the testosterone blood work side, and it's the bridge between that and men's work, which is like the mental emotional side of things, because they go hand in hand. If you have trauma or like unresolved stories that are running in the background, say like with a relationship, you're anxiously
Hmm.
attached, that's gonna create cortisol. That's gonna create a lot of stress. Which then, if we're like trying to do all this stuff with the men's health, but you're in a shitty relationship and you just don't have the skills to get out of that anxiety, that's gonna sabotage everything that we're doing over
Yeah,
here. So when I say men's holistic health coach, it's really holistic. It's literally
yeah,
everything in a man's life that is driving this result. His blood work could look fine, but I asked him about his relationship, and he's like, "It is the biggest source of stress for me." And I'm like, "Okay, yeah, well, let's look at that and let's go after that." So, and that's Corey's world as well, as like dating and relationships. So I bring like the biology expertise, but then also like interweave the relationship stuff and really help guys tap into that masculine leadership side, because I think a lot of men in society and just in relationship right now are
mm,
lost. They don't really know how to lead, or when they do try to lead, they get smacked back down. So they're like, well, like what should I even
mhm,
do? So interweaving those two things has been so amazing. And again, like talk about being a brand of one and like a just standing out in the marketplace. I don't think anyone else is doing it that way. Of like, there's the guys who are the men's health and we're just blood work, blood work, blood work, and like supplements, nutrition, and they don't really cross over to the relationship side of things. Like you talk to a health coach, he's not going to talk much about your relationship. So that's like creating the interweaving of that where it's all connected.
mhm.
So we should be addressing all of it. And so I feel like I've amassed a interesting set of skills where I can and do both of that, which has been really fulfilling and amazing.
Yeah, it's 100% on point because most of what stresses us, or if not all of what stresses us, is the way we feel about how we're handling the relationships with other people.
Yeah, I think a big piece of that too is like a regulated nervous system. So many men have a dysregulated nervous system, which is just feeding the cortisol, feeding the stress. So until you really know how to handle that and work on that, you're just stuck in this loop, and I call it the low T loop. You're unable to get out of it because you can't regulate your nervous system, so you're stuck down here until you have a pop out moment where you see something that you can't unsee, have the awareness, and then we can start to work on that and move through and create some change. But I think a big piece is like learning the skills and ability to regulate your nervous system, which is what we do at the next level, which is the retreat that me and Court run.
Hmm. Tell me a little bit more about that. Like how did that retreat come about?
Yeah, so we call it 3 day intensives now. Because like when I say retreat, it's like the context is like, oh yeah, we're doing yoga, we're like hanging out, we're off our phones, we're chilling. Yes, but it's also very intense. So like how it runs, it's very intentional with how everything's set up. We create such a safe space where men can feel like they can go and share shadows and share the deepest emotions that they've ever felt. So we create that, and that can like down regulate us and make us feel safe, but then at the same time we're applying
Mm.
pressure. We're applying pressure to these guys, so then their patterns just bubble up. They don't have any other choice. They're just like, we put the pressure in, so they run an unconscious story and pattern that's been running, and we're there and we're just like, we see it. So we're pointing it out, and then they start to see it. It's like we run these scenarios and they're like, fuck, that's how I've been showing up in my relationship. And so it just like starts to connect, and then we can hold them and integrate it after. So it's like making them feel really safe and like down regulating, and then we're applying
Mhm.
pressure in different scenarios, so they just get this like moment of like, wow. It's really beautiful and it's amazing.
Nice. Oh, so glad that that you're doing things like that, because again, men need it, and most men don't know that they need it.
Yeah,
What do you find the most fulfilling about your line of work?
it's good stuff. What I'm really getting fulfillment with right now is the masculine leadership side of things, and like teaching men skills and showing men how they can show up in a relationship and how they can lead, and how good that feels for men to do who've maybe been emasculated before and maybe just haven't been able to show up, because that's me, that's my story. I was pretty emasculated in my last relationship, and it just didn't feel good. I was a nice guy. I was anxiously attached. I was avoidantly attached. Like I had it all. So helping guys on both aspects, like one, helping them with the biology and the physiology, so to unlock their testosterone, so they have the prerequisites to lean in and to like really go hard, build their business, show up for their wives and partners, become more of a leader in their lives. And then also teaching them the skills and how to actually apply that in their lives, so they're feeling better themselves and they have the energy, and then they're learning also how to bring that into the world, and how a man's life changes when they go from low testosterone to high testosterone and they learn masculine leadership. It is night and day. And the stuff that these guys are telling me, and like how what they're getting with their wives, and the connection that they feel, and the love and admiration that they feel, and the energy they have, and how their business is changing, like it's just so cool. It's just really cool to experience that myself, because I went first and I had that transformation, and then to bring guys along with me has been amazing, because it's big, and I feel like this is the work that can really change the world, because there's a big divide. There's a lot of fighting between men and women, um, and if that continues, like we're just going to continue to be fractured, and it just gets even worse. So I feel like I'm doing my part, even on a small scale, just with myself, of just like bringing that harmony back together. So there can just be a lot more peace between men and women, and just also inside a man's life himself. He can just experience way more peace, and I feel like that's what every man wants. They just want peace.
Hmm. And a lot of those wins and those stories, like they start thriving in business, they start being better with their wives. I think the biggest change is like the other person is not the wrong person. I'm not wrong, I'm just like dysregulated because of a couple of things. So but we become responsible. I think that that is one of the secrets when it comes to that personal development, that we stop outsourcing the blame to other people, and we actually become responsible for the choices that we've made so far, and we become aware of the possibility of making a new change moving forward.
That word responsibility, it's big for me. Because yeah, the mission's big. So with a big mission and really important work comes a lot of responsibility. And once a man gets to the point where he's like, maybe this all of this isn't my fault, but I'm gonna take responsibility for it and change it, like the world moves.
Hmm. And where do you see the vision, right? Like if you were to paint it 10 years from now, Mark has supported like X amount of people, like where do you see that happening, or how do you see that happening?
Yeah, so I've got a big vision. So the name of my program is called Unchained, because we have all these invisible chains that are holding us down: poor health, low T, anxious attachment, avoidant attachment, dysregulated nervous system. These are all chains holding men back. And so the idea is to come into the program and just break all the chains so that they can move forward and become unchained. So creating more unchained men in the world, I think just heals the world with stronger men, with more regulated men. So many of the problems in the world go away. And so one of the big things that I want to do too is like with the retreats and with the in-person stuff, build a lot bigger community and have like a brotherhood of all the men who have gone through Unchained or are currently working on it. Different cities set up, where it's just this network of men who are doing this work and optimizing their testosterone, becoming like just creating more and more men with high testosterone who are also integrated and have a regulated nervous system and can lead, and creating the ripple effect for those men to then lead the people in their community and just heal on a global scale, on a massive scale. I genuinely think that when men heal and can do this work, the world changes.
And I know that there's a lot of women that might come across this, and they want also a safer world for them and a better world for them. So what could you say to women when it comes to supporting the men around this transformation?
Yeah, I mean, all of their anger and rage, I think, is valid, because if you look at who is doing most of the offense against women, it's men. We're the ones, we're physically stronger, and we can just create this pain for them. So I understand, and I feel, I don't understand, but I can appreciate where they're coming from. And then a lot of them are fed up. It's like where are all the good men? Like, I genuinely feel that. There are more and more every single day, I think. More and more men are getting into this work. So I think just being patient, I think, is good. Being just a little bit more patient, and supporting the men in their life, and letting them know that, like, we are valuable, and we do have my dog's barking. Letting us know that we are valuable, and we have a spot in the world. Because a lot of men, what I think is happening is a lot of men just feel lost. Like, they don't feel like they have a spot. They don't feel like they have value. Like, previously we were providers, and we would, do the work and come home, and the women would be taking care of the house. That's not the case anymore. There's a lot more independent women who don't need a man to provide for them. They can provide for themselves. And so for men with that frame, they're starting to be like, oh, like, what is my role in the world? I've just been, like, replaced. Which I don't think, that's not necessarily a bad thing. We just have to evolve as men, and we have to mold with how society has been going. And then we can also, as men get higher testosterone, get more regulated, we can start to just handle all that a lot better. Like, there's a lot of talk right now about masculine feminine dynamics, and all that stuff, and I got into that, and that really changed my life, of getting out of that emasculated energy, and really just standing up and rising, and being a masculine leader, and being who I know I can be, to then have a partner who is also, like, she's a boss babe. She makes a lot of money. She performs. She's in her masculine a lot. But then for me to be strong enough in myself and know who I am, for when she's around me and when she comes back, I can shift that dynamic, and I can be the masculine pillar and the grounded energy, and she can soften. I think that's what a lot of women are craving for, and looking for. Like, they don't necessarily need the provider with money, but what I do feel like they want and crave is the provider emotionally, the to feel safety, to not have to be very hyper vigilant, so that they can, like, relax in a man's presence. And that comes from us being regulated, and us having high testosterone, so we can protect them and provide for them in whatever ways that they need.
When it comes to now your retreat, when are your next retreats coming?
Yeah, so running a 3-day intensive here in Austin, Texas, June 5th, 6th, and 7th. And then we're also running another 3-day intensive in Byron Bay in Australia. So if there's any international people over that side of the world, that is July 26, 27, 28. I think that might be the wrong dates, but it's the second to last weekend of July.
Awesome.
But the first one, June 5th, 6th, 7th in Austin, Texas.
And where can people find and learn more about you or start working with you?
Instagram's usually the best spot. My handle is Mark Holman Health. You can reach out to me there. We do retreats as well, so that's the next level _intensives. But I would just reach out to me directly, Mark Holman Health. And then for anyone who's listening who has blood work, you can DM me on Instagram, Bloods, and it'll run through a ManyChat sequence, and you upload your bloods, and then I'll analyze them for free. Also, if you don't have bloods, you can still do that, and then I'll direct you to a video on how to get the exact panel that I send to my clients. So there's a lot of value in that for the listeners.
Love it. So they just have to DM you the word blood?
Yeah, bloods plural.
Okay, bloods. Okay, great. That's awesome. Thank you so much. What's one message you would leave the man or the entrepreneur that you wish you would have heard before you joined this journey to health?
I think this just applies to overall life as well. Is, like, one of my superpowers, I feel like, is perseverance. Like I said, I quit my job in 2018, and I've been full-time since 2020. So that's been 6 years. I feel like, especially in the coaching industry, you don't hear that a lot. So with whatever challenge you're faced with, Sometimes it might take a lot longer than you think it will. It took me pretty much 5 years to hit my first financial milestone that I thought I was gonna hit in 6 months. It took me 5 years. So sometimes it might take a little bit longer, but as long as you stay in the game and as long as you continue to show up, you'll win. The only way you lose is if you give up. And if you never give up, you're gonna win.
I drop. Thank you, man. Thank you
Yeah,
so much
same.
for your time, your energy, and hope that more men get higher testosterone without needing external things, because the answers are already inside.
100%, man. Appreciate
Right.
you.